There are lots of people these days making demands against the universe. People like Lia Thomas, for example, demanding to be seen as a woman, and in fact to be a woman, but he's not. Now, this is just some fortuitous timing, I think, because Lia Thomas, of course, as you know, the UPenn swimmer who's a male competing against the females, stealing all of their medals and accolades and everything else. Good Morning America has a little bit of a puff piece that they're airing. This is the first time we've seen, I think, Lia Thomas. He had the puff piece interview profile with Sports Illustrated, but this is the first time we've seen him interviewed on camera. And he's being interviewed by Good Morning America. So first I want to play this, and I have a little bit of a rebuttal to play as well. But first let's listen to Good Morning America and Lia Thomas talk about, well, in fact, what it says on the screen is Lia Thomas breaks her, quote unquote, silence. Listen.
Thomas began HRT, hormone replacement therapy, in May of her sophomore year, 2019.
The mental and emotional changes actually happened very quickly. I was feeling a lot better mentally. I was less depressed, and then I lost muscle mass, and I became a lot weaker and a lot slower in the water.
After following NCAA guidelines of a year of hormone therapy to change gender categories, Thomas started her senior year on the women's team. But her success in the water was met with outrage leading up to the NCAA championships. Her critics say she jumped in the rankings between the men's and the women's team.
There are some who look at the data and suggest that you're enjoying a competitive advantage. What do you say to that?
There's a lot of factors that go into a race and how well you do. And the biggest change for me is that I'm happy. And sophomore year, where I had my best times competing with the men, I was miserable. And so having that be lifted is incredibly relieving and allows me to put my all into training, into racing. Trans people don't transition for athletics. We transition to be happy and authentic and our true selves. Transitioning to get an advantage is not something that ever factors into our decisions.
You didn't transition to win more medals?
No.
That was actually my first time watching that just now. And I mean, it's exactly what you expect. Speaking of offering no defense, having no defense, this is always the theme with the left. There's no defense of anything they say, especially when it comes to gender. And so he's given the opportunity there to respond. Now, critics say that males have competitive advantages. No, critics don't say that. You know who says that? Science says that, okay? The left's usually very fond of saying that science has declared certain things. Well, this is one thing that science is 100%. This is a universal, immutable truth, right? That there are biological differences between males and females. We're also told by the reporter there that, well, critics say that Lia Thomas jumped in the rankings from male to female. Well, that's not what critics are saying. Critics might be saying that, but that's just a fact. You can look at the rankings. You could look at Lia Thomas against the males, and he's down here, and then against the females, and he's up there. That's just a fact. But given the opportunity, in a very friendly environment here, as we could clearly see, given the opportunity to respond to this, well, critics say that you have an advantage. What's his response? Does he give any scientific answer? No, he pivots away from that immediately and says, well, I'm happier. So? Who gives a damn? Number one, that's not the question. The question is, do you have a biological advantage? I'm happy. Okay, you might as well respond by telling me what you had for lunch this afternoon. Makes no difference. That's not the question. But because the answer obviously is yes. Of course I have a biological advantage. But that makes me happy. And so you should just have to deal with it. Now, the other thing you notice and I haven't watched the full interview with Lia Thomas, can't say that I really plan on it, but I have read other interviews, including that Sports Illustrated one. And the one thing you notice is that Lia Thomas never says anything about his teammates. It's always me, my, I, me, mine. I'm happy. This makes me feel good. That's all he ever says. Because the women, the actual women involved, don't factor in. They don't matter. He doesn't care. He's a raging narcissist. Simply doesn't care. Now, does he actually have gender dysphoria? Is he actually confused about his biological sex? Maybe. Or maybe not. I mean, we can't know. We can't see inside someone's mind. Is this something he's doing just for an advantage purely and for attention and all that? Seems quite possible to me, but I don't know. It also doesn't really matter when it comes to this question of whether it's fair and right and it makes sense to have males competing against women. But whether he actually has this confusion or not, one thing we know for sure is that he is a raging narcissist. Doesn't care about anybody else. But even if the other people involved don't rank as far as he's concerned, in reality, they do exist and they do matter. And it just so happens that in my film, What is a Woman? I don't know if you heard me mention it, comes out tomorrow. We actually spoke to one of the teammates of Lia Thomas. And she, for understandable reasons, didn't want her name and face out there, wanted some anonymity, but was willing to speak to us. And so we're going to play. This is an exclusive clip from What is a Woman, very, very short clip. Again, you can see the full film when it comes out tomorrow. Go to whatisawoman.com and subscribe. But let's listen to what she has to say about her experiences with Lia Thomas on the team. And in particular, did any of the women on the team raise any concerns? Did they object? And if they did, what response did they get from the school? Let's listen.
Lia obviously helps us do better, right? Lia's swimming really fast. Lia's performance helps the University of Pennsylvania swim team. The feeling of winning doesn't feel as good anymore because it feels tainted. There was a lot of things you couldn't talk about that were very concerning, like a locker room situation. If you even brought up concerns about it, you were transphobic. If you even bring up the fact that Lia swimming might not be fair, you were immediately shut down as being called a hateful person or transphobic.
But there's never any conversation. The coaches don't sit everyone down and acknowledge what everyone's really upset about?
So Penn actually brought in people high up in the athletic department to talk to us. They brought in someone from the LGBTQ center. They brought in someone from the psychological services.
So you're upset about what's happening, and so
Yeah.
you need psychological help.
Yeah. And they told us in this meeting, they said, look, we understand there's an array of emotions, but Lia swimming is a non-negotiable. However, we can help you make that okay. That's what we're here for.
Now, on the left, they're very fond of the term gaslighting, and we hear it all the time. They're always accusing people, oh, you're gaslighting me. And usually you get accused of gaslighting if you just say something that's plainly correct and obvious, and then you're accused of gaslighting. Well, what you just heard there, that's gaslighting. What the girls experienced on their team is gaslighting. Where if you have a problem, if you're uncomfortable being around a man in your locker room, if you don't want to see a penis in a locker room, or if you've done all this work to this point in your swimming career and you don't like the idea that now you're being overshadowed and having this opportunity stolen from you, then you are the one with the problem. You need to go get psychological counseling. That's what she reveals there. They sat the women down, the actual women, brought in LGBT activists to shame them for not wanting to see a naked penis in a locker room. And then they were told that, hey, if you don't like this, then we'll send you, then you're the crazy one. You could go talk to a counselor. No, the man who's dressing like a woman, he doesn't have the psychological problem. You do. So if there's one man saying that he's a woman, and then 10 women, 20 women who disagree, who's the one with the problem? It's all the women. Doesn't matter how many it is. It could be 1,000,000 to 1. And they're the ones with the problem. So she had more to say. Again, you can go to the to whatiswoman.com, get subscribed, and that's just one small piece of what we have in that film. But giving voice to, that's one of the things we were able to do in this movie that I'm proud of, is that we were able to give voice to people who've been actually silenced and ignored, but whose voices, in fact, do matter. Listen, hit that subscribe button right now. Do it right now. I thank you for your compliance. It is somewhat appreciated.